All right, hello, this is Miss Erickson coming to you with the Ohm's Law calculations. You should have your notebook open right now to the Cornell notes that you need to take. Each slide will have a heading, and those are going to be your new headings in your Cornell notes that you'll be writing in your notebook. If you're not sure what page to put this on, look at today's lesson from the website, and it'll tell you what page this should go on. All right, so our first heading is Review of Variables. This is what we've put in our big grid a couple lessons ago, and I just wanted to make sure that we review the main variables here. Okay, so here's our variables. We have current. Okay, so here's our variables. We have current, which we show as I, and the units are amps, or sometimes written as A. You're going to see it both ways. So you're going to need to see amps, and you're going to need to know A. We also have voltage here, which is abbreviated as V. That's what we call our variable name. And the units for voltage are volts. Super easy to remember. And then finally we have resistance, which is abbreviated as R as a variable, and its units are ohms, with this omega symbol as its label. Okay, so now your next heading is the equations. Just a reminder, if I went too fast on that last slide, go ahead and reverse, pause the video, and copy what you need to know. Okay, so next heading is the equations. We're going to have 3 equations here. If you know one of them, you know them all. So the big one here that I like to remember is the equation for voltage. And voltage is equal to the current times the resistance. Okay? Now I can rearrange this equation and solve it for current, or I, by dividing R by both sides. So just let me show you how that's done. So I can divide by R and divide by R. The R's cancel, and I end up with the equation I equals V over R. Okay? However, you don't really need to solve. You don't really need to solve for I, because for this unit I've decided to be nice, and I'm going to give you all 3 of these equations. Okay? So for my third equation, instead of solving for I can solve this equation for R, or resistance, and get V divided by I. So these are going to be your 3 main equations that you're going to need to use. At this point, you're going to want to pause the video, copy these equations down, and then unpause the video and move on to the next heading. Okay, so there's your equations. Hopefully you have those written down. Okay, we're going to now use these 3 equations in solving 3 different problems. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to solve for current. So here's our problem. How much current is in a circuit that includes a 9-volt battery and a bulb with the resistance of 3 ohms? So like every problem we solve this year, the first step to do is to collect your numbers. So I'm going to find my numbers, okay, which are 3 ohms and 9 volts, and I'm going to write those down. So I have 3 ohms and 9 volts. Okay, my next step is to figure out what they mean. So I know I have my 3 variables here of I, V, and R. Okay, I've also found out in the problem that I want to solve for current. So current is my unknown. So I'm going to grab my equation and write it down. So I've got my current equation, which is I is equal to V divided by R. So I've got my V and my R that I need to figure out. Well, wonderful. The great thing about volts and voltage is that they're all V's. So my 9 volt is my V, and my 3 ohms then is my R. I can go back to my notes and look at what my units are if I'm unsure, but I'm pretty sure volt is V and R is ohms. So now all I have to do is substitute into the equation. So I have I is equal to V, which is 9 volts, and then divide that by my R, which is 3 ohms, and that gives me an answer of 3. And I'm solving for current, so my unit is going to be amps. And I'm going to put a box around that to show that that's my final answer. Okay, go ahead and pause this video right now so that you can copy this down in your notes. Okay, welcome back. So hopefully you have this copied down into your notes by now. You've copied the question and you've copied how to solve it. So we're going to move on to our next type of problem, which is solving for resistance. So again, I'm going to read the problem first. How many ohms of resistance must be present in a circuit that has 120 volts and a current of 10 amps? So again, my first step is going to be to find my numbers. So I have 120 volts and 10 amps. I'm going to write that down. And 10 amps. I need to figure out what my unknown is. So the question's asking how many ohms of resistance. So that's my unknown. So my resistance is equal to my question mark. So then what I need to do is find my equation. Conveniently located here is that resistance is equal to V over I, or voltage over current. So let's figure out what my variables are. Volts, excellent VVVs, are going to give me my volts means voltage, or V. And that must mean my amps are equal to my I, or my current. So again, I'm going to substitute. R is equal to 120 divided by 10. 120 volts and 10 amps, which gives me 12, and my units for resistance is ohms. I'm going to put a box around that, show that that's my final answer. All right, now you want to pause this video and copy this down into your notes. Okay, welcome back. Now to go on to our last heading, solving for voltage. So we have a new problem here. A light bulb has a resistance of 4 ohms and a current of 2 amps. What is the voltage across the bulb? So again, my first step, find my numbers. I have 2A and 4 ohms. So I'm going to write those down. I'm going to reread the question. It says, what is the voltage across the bulb? So my unknown is my voltage. Okay. So I need to find my voltage equation. And here is my voltage equation. Oh, shit. Okay. So now what we need to do is go ahead and substitute. So we have, oh, you know what? We're not ready to substitute. We have to define what our variables are. So amps is equal to I, and ohms is equal to my resistance. So now I can substitute for voltage is equal to 2 amps times 4 ohms, which gives me 8 volts. Put a box around it to show that's my final answer. Make sure that I have my units in my answer. And that is it. Go ahead and copy this down and put this into your notes.